Once again, you are welcome, dear students. Today, I will be talking about the module 5 of Law for Engineers, and that talks about the privacy in governance and transparency. In this particular module, there are 6 to 7 laws which I will touch for the benefit and sake of you, for the knowledge of you. And out of that, the first act is Confidential in Government Business Public Administration under Official Secret Act 1923. The Official Secret Act 1923 was enacted to protect the government's confidential documents and maintain its secrecy. These confidential official documents covered under this Act can be in any form under Section 5 of the Act. If guilty, a person may get up to 14 years of imprisonment, a fine, or both. It gets extended to all the matters of secrecy and confidentiality in the country's governance. The Official Secret Act does not define what is secret or official secret. It is the discretion of the government to categorize any information as secret. Information whose disclosure will affect the sovereignty and integrity of India or security, scientific and strategic interest of the state of relations with foreign state comes under Official Secret Act. Official Secret Act maintains the confidentiality and functioning of government agencies like Intelligence Bureau, Research and Analysis Wing, that is known as RAW, and CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, etc. So the next act which you need to know in the privacy of governments and transparency is Privileged Communication under the Indian Evidence Act. Privileged communication refer to the confidential conversation or interactions between two parties who are in a legally recognized protected relationship. The information cannot be leaked to any third party, not even the court. Law can never force an individual or a corporation to disclose the contents of the privileged communication. Example मैं आपको बताता हूँ. A, the husband, and B, the wife, are undergoing a rough patch in their matrimonial life. A decided to transfer all his properties to C via his will, and only his lawyer knows about it. If B ever asks A's lawyer to disclose it, the lawyer can't tell as it is a privileged communication. Second example is professional communication between a lawyer and a client cannot be disclosed. Third is privileged communication between a doctor and a patient. And fourth is privileged communication between husband and a wife. The foundation of this is to guard the trust that a client reposes in an attorney, a patient in a doctor, and spouses in each other. However, the privilege is not absolute in nature. It is subjected to certain exceptions. The law also provides for punishment in case of the violation. जो आपका 5th मॉड्यूल है उसमें जो नेक्स्ट एक्ट आपको टचअप करना है दैट इज ऑफेंसेस अंडर आईटी एक्ट 2000 विद एम्फेसिस ऑन प्रोटेक्टेड सिस्टम. तो मैं आपको बताता हूं जो ऑफेंसेस है अंडर आईटी एक्ट 2000 मोटा मोटी वो हैं. द ऑफेंसेस अंडर आईटी एक्ट 2000 आर एज फॉलोज. नंबर 1, टेम्परिंग विद कंप्यूटर सोर्स डॉक्यूमेंट. 2, हैकिंग विद कंप्यूटर सिस्टम. 3, publishing of information which is obscene in electronic form. 4th is protected systems. 5th is publication for fraudulent purposes. And 6th is publishing false digital signature certificate, etc. These are the offenses under IT Act 2000. Now what is protected system? Section 70 of this IT Act 2000 provides that number 1, the appropriate government may by notification in the official gazette declare that any computer system or computer network to be a protected system. Number 2, the appropriate government may by order in writing authorize the persons who are authorized to access protected systems notified under section 1, subsection 1. Number 3, any person who secures access or attempts to secure access to a protected system in contravention of the provision of this section shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. So this is what about the protected system. The next thing, the law which you need to touch up is ID Act, Industrial Dispute Act 1947, labor disputes and their settlement, collective bargaining. Labor dispute and settlement under Industrial Dispute Act 1947. The Industrial Dispute Act 1947 came into existence in April 1947. It was enacted to make provisions for investigating and settlement of industrial disputes and to ensure fair wages and other safeguards to the workers. ID Act 1947 provides machinery to resolve dispute by collective bargaining, grievance redressal, arbitration, conciliation and adjudication, conciliation officer, conciliation board, labor court, industrial tribunal and national tribunal are some of the machinery for dispute settlement. A disagreement between workers and management over pay, working conditions, hours of work, etc. are forms of industrial disputes. Possible causes of dispute may be number 1, breakdown of communication, a lack of appreciation and respect, difference in opinion, technical problems, etc. With the help of code of discipline, grievance handling procedure, collective bargaining, and other consultative machinery, these disputes are resolved. In this, which you need to touch up as per your example, as per your syllabus, is collective bargaining. What is collective bargaining? It is a process of negotiation between employers and a group of employees aimed at agreements to regulate working salaries, working conditions, benefit and other aspects of workers, compensation and rights for workers. The interest of employees are commonly presented by the representative of a trade union to which the employees belong. The collective agreements reached by these negotiations usually set out wage scales, working hours, training required, health and safety, overtime, grievance mechanism and right to participate in workplace or company affairs. Now the next act which you need to know is Industrial Employment Standing Order Act 1946. The objective of this act is to provide regular standing orders for workers, factories and working relationships, to ensure that the employee recognizes the terms and conditions of the employment and thus to minimize exploitation of the workers. To promote industrial peace and harmony by supporting the industrial practices, standing orders normally include number 1, the classification of workers, number 2, manners of information to worker about work and wage related details, 3, attendance and conditions of granting leave, etc., 4, rights and liabilities of the employer oblique workers, and 5th is conditions of termination oblique suspension from employment, etc. It is obligatory for employer to make provisions in the standing order in respect of any matter provided in the act. An establishment is required to draft its own set of standing order based on model standing order issued by the state government. And the last act which you need to know about this is Payment of Wages Act 1936. The main objective for the introduction of Payment of Wages Act 1936 is to avoid unnecessary delay in the payment of wages and to prevent unauthorized deductions from the wages. As per this act, every establishment having employees in excess of 1000 persons shall pay the wages before the expiry of the 10th day. All other employees shall make the wage payment by the expiry of the 7th day. Employer shall make the payment of wages in current currency notes, that is cash, or via bank transfer. The employer cannot pay the wages in kind. No wage period shall exceed 1 month. The Act provides the responsibility for payment of wages, fixation of wage period, time and mode of payment of wages and permissible deductions. So this is what Payment of Wages Act 1936. एक एक्ट और है इसमें, RTI एक्ट 2005. ये सबसे पहला जो हमने एक्ट पढ़ा ऑफिशियल सीक्रेट एक्ट, उसके बिल्कुल उलट है. ऑफिशियल सीक्रेट एक्ट कहता है कि चीज़ों को दबाओ, RTI एक्ट कहता है कि चीज़ों को उजागर करो. लेकिन ये एक बहुत अच्छा एक्ट है. यही एकमात्र, दिस इज द ओनली वन ऑफ द इंडियाज एक्ट विच गॉट सम टाइम लिमिट. 30 डेज में आपके पास झूठा आए सच्चा आए कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन आएगा जो आपने मांगी है. एंड यू मस्ट नो व्हाट इज RTI 2005 एंड हाउ टू गो फॉर इट. आपको to remove the corruption and to bring transparency in the system, RTI 2005 was drafted. और इसके सहारे एक कॉमन मैन के हाथ में भी ताकत है कि वो सरकार की किसी भी फाइल, किसी भी टेंडर के बारे में कोई सूचना प्राप्त कर सकता है. फीस केवल 10 रुपया, और यदि आप गरीब हैं तो वो भी देने की जरूरत नहीं है. एक सादा पेपर पे आप जन सूचना अधिकारी, जो कि हर डिपार्टमेंट में नियुक्त किया होता है, पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफिसर, उसके नाम एक चिट्ठी लिखेंगे कि श्रीमान जी RTI एक्ट 2005 के अंतर्गत मुझे निम्न सूचनाएं चाहिए, और 10 रुपए का उसके साथ में फीस लगाएंगे. इंडियन पोस्टल ऑर्डर के तरीके से, या वहाँ पे जाके जहाँ वो डिपार्टमेंट है वहाँ कैश में भी आप पर्ची कटा सकते हैं, या आजकल ऑनलाइन भी RTI अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, तो आप डेबिट कार्ड वगैरह से वो पेमेंट कर सकते हैं. RTI में कोई आपसे ये नहीं पूछ सकता कि ये बात आप क्यों पूछ रहे हैं, और आपको पहले ऐसा था श्योर कि आपको आइडेंटिटी भी बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, आपकी आइडेंटिटी विल बी प्रोटेक्टेड. लेकिन उसका कुछ मिसयूज भी होने लगा, तो आप उसके साथ अपनी एक ID, जिसमें आपका एड्रेस हो कि नहीं हो, कुछ नहीं हो, आपका पैन कार्ड हो, चाहे आपका लाइसेंस हो, चाहे आपका ID आधार कार्ड हो या कोई और, वो एक चीज़ आप लगा दें कि येस यू आर ए जेन्युइन ह्यूमन बीइंग. वो आप देके और कंसर्न डिपार्टमेंट में दे देंगे, रिसीव कराएंगे. 30 डेज के अंदर आपके पास में RTI का जवाब आएगा. अगर नहीं आता है तो आप फर्स्ट अपील लगाएंगे, क्योंकि हर डिपार्टमेंट में एक फर्स्ट अपील ऑफिसर भी होता है. अब RTI एक्ट के समय में आपने 10 रुपए का ड्राफ्ट लगाया था, इस वक्त आपको कुछ लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. सादा पेज पे लिखेंगे कि इस तारीख को मैंने RTI की एप्लीकेशन आपके यहाँ दी थी, इस दिन 30 दिन पूरे हो गए और वो जवाब मुझे मिला नहीं है, तो मेरी फर्स्ट अपील की सुनवाई करते हुए जो जवाब मुझे चाहिए वो दिलवाइए. और फिर फर्स्ट अपील पे या तो आपको जवाब आ जाएगा, या जो फर्स्ट अपील ऑफिसर है वो आपके PIO, जो जन सूचना अधिकारी है, और आपको दोनों को बुलाएगा और देखेगा कि क्या मैटर है, क्यों सूचना नहीं दी जा रही या दी गई, और वहाँ पे सुनवाई करके वो आपकी अपील को डिस्पोज ऑफ करेगा. यदि आप फर्स्ट अपील से भी संतुष्ट नहीं हैं तो फिर सेकंड अपील स्टेट जो है अपना राज्य सूचना आयोग, वहां आप लगा सकते हैं. और यदि वहां तक बात पहुंच गई है तो गारंटी मान के चलिए कि आपको आपकी जो मांगी गई सूचना है वो जरूर से मिलेगी. प्रक्रिया थोड़ी सी दुरूह है, थोड़ा सा कष्ट होता है बाद में, फर्स्ट अपील के बाद में, लेकिन जब आप सिस्टम में ट्रांसपेरेंसी लाते हैं और करप्शन मिटाते हैं तो अच्छा लगता है. सो RTI एक्ट 2005 का प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को उसकी जानकारी होनी चाहिए. आपको तो विशेष रूप से, यू आर यूथ, सो बी proficient in RTI Act 2005, and with this your whole syllabus of all the 5 modules law 132 law for engineers is completed. This was 5th module for you. Thank you my dear students, it was a good journey with all of you. Thank you.